Deathstroke number 4, written by Kyle Higgins, art by Joe Bennett. Last issue left off with a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't actually relate to this issue directly, so I'm not even going to bother with it. This issue picks up with Deathstroke in chains. He is Slade Wilson. He is all bound up in a metahuman prison, maximum security in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the warden comes up just to gloat, and he's like, there was this football player I really liked. He was just the absolute best, but he didn't know when to quit. And in his later years, before he finally retired, he was slowing down. He was getting worse. So by the time he finally did retire, he was just a shell of his former glory. Reminds me a lot of you, Slade. You washed up and you're broken and you didn't know when to quit. He's like, yeah, that's fair, unless this was actually the beginning of a new rebirth. And he breaks out of his chains, immediately starts killing everybody. And he's like, oh, dear warden, I went through a lot of trouble just to get in here and see you. So we're going to have some fun. And he starts beating up all the guards. He finally makes it to the warden. The warden's like, oh, this is a metahuman prison. You're not getting out of here unless you've got some, tactical military explosives. And he just coughs up military explosives and shoves it into the warden's mouth, and he's like, yeah, I know. And then he runs out of the room as the beeping increases in volume, and then it's implied what happens, but then we cut to a plane somewhere over the Midwest later on, and Kristoff is talking to Slade, and he's like, all right, is there anything else I need to include? And he's like, yeah, make sure that you may get out that the arrest was also fake. I don't want people thinking I actually got arrested and then turned it into a breakout. It was all about the hit. And Kristoff's like, yeah, okay, cool. By the way, we need sleep sometimes. You've been working us around the clock for the past 2 weeks. I'm not in my 20s. I'm old. I need to get some sleep. And we see that Slade is looking down at his left hand, and it's got some tremors to it. So he puts on his gear, and he goes to jump out the plane. But before he does, he tells Kristoff, look, you're right. I've been pushing you too hard. Square up the payments. Go take a vacation. I'll handle this until you get back. And he jumps out of the plane. We see he apparently landed around Michigan, Detroit specifically. He's in an abandoned old church, just resting up, waiting for another call from whoever. His hand's still shaking, and he's frustrated about that. He loses his cool for a second. Peabody walks in, and he's like, okay, what's up? And he's like, nothing. What's up with you? And Peabody just like, all right, well, I got that briefcase, that mysterious briefcase we've been talking about for 4 issues now. I got it checked out. Do you want to know what I found? And he's like, well, it's real. The thing inside it is real. And what is the thing inside it? It is the mask of Ravager, a.k.a. his son, that he watched die. He knows that Ravager is dead. Yet somehow his mask, his knife, and a fresh blood stain, because Peabody's like, look, this blood is less than a week old at the point that we found it. So unless somebody had his blood on ice, Grant might still be alive. And Deathstroke's like, are there any leads at all? And he's like, there's only one lead that we have of someone running data on nth metal, which is also what's in this mask. And it was bounced around, but it actually apparently turned out to be a man named Attila from the Blackhawks, which is another DC series that we are covering right now. So a little bit of crossover. And apparently him and Deathstroke have some history. It's not said exactly what happened, but there's bad blood there. So he's like, look, if you want answers, I'm sure you want to climb up this mountain and just kill everybody in your way. But there are other ways to deal with this. And he's like, no, there isn't. I need you to build me something that can fly, though. So we cut to 4 days later. Attila is doing some reconnaissance around a Blackhawks base, and Deathstroke, in this personal hover bike sort of setup, just flies in a collision course with Attila in his jet. He fires off some rockets. It's a general fight scene. He uses a sword to lop off the wing of the plane. As Attila's ejecting, Deathstroke grabs him and starts flying him to wherever he's going to go, interrogate him. But then, something went wrong, and Deathstroke starts flying into a mountain pretty much. He crashes on the ground, drops his sword. Attila sees it, runs over, grabs the sword, runs towards Slade, and then Deathstroke's like, are you kidding me? And he just already has a gun trained on Attila, and he's like, put the sword down. And Attila's disappointed that he would use a gun after their history, which we still don't know anything about. But then we just get them questioning each other a little bit. Deathstroke's like, well, okay, so you're working for the Blackhawks now? And he's like, yeah, it's a hell of a lot better than where I was. You're working with that trash Peabody? And he's like, what's wrong with Peabody? And he's like, Peabody's been hunting down nth metal stuff, which is a big no-no for the Blackhawks. Blackhawks control the illicit weapons market. That's what their whole thing is. And Peabody is pretty much on the top of our list. And you just helped us find him faster just by being here. So thanks for that. And Deathstroke's like, and your team knows about your history? And he's like, they're behind me. I got out while I was still young. Better than you can say. And they're just still in a standoff as we cut over to Kristoff, I guess setting up his vacation. He's approached from behind by somebody that he recognizes, but is not shown to us. Who is holding Ravager's knife, but like a different one, I presume, at least. And he grabs Kristoff by the face and he's like, I'm sending a message to Slade. And he stabs it through Kristoff's eye and then stabs it into the table and says, like, all right, now Slade will know the time's almost up. And that's where we leave off, with Kristoff dead and him in a standoff with one of the Blackhawks. I like this. I like this one. It's setting up a tiny little mystery and like, okay, what's going on with Deathstroke's hand? It's finally revealed what's in the briefcase. I'm very happy about that. We're getting that whole mystery thing of his son may be alive. Doing a little bit of a tie-in with Blackhawks without it even having to be a tie-in with Blackhawks. Like, it's not an event. It's just a thing of, yes, these universes coexist. And I like when comic books do that, because it's just a sign of, okay, it's a cohesive narrative. Everything's blending together. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 7. I think it's very well written. Art-wise, nothing really stands out as fantastic. It's got its moments, but it's not like, oh, wow, amazing the whole way through. If anything, I think the actiony scenes are actually where it falls the most flat, and the scenes where they're just talking are the better looking ones. But maybe that's just me. So overall, I'm giving Deathstroke number 4 a 7. I'm actually looking forward to the mysteries they're setting up here.